We're going to have our hands full.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. This is Charles E. Smith Jr. The show is Talkin Hockey, and this is our Stanley Cup final update. First, let's go ahead and thank our sponsor, thepuckshopshere.com. Discount hockey gear available online. Free shipping on all orders over $75, and use the promo code INSIDESPORTS upon the checkout, and you'll get an additional 10% discount. Now, as you know, we've been breaking this thing down. I'm out here on the West Coast. I got to have help. I got to have a little bit of influence and someone to kind of balance things out. So I went deep into Canada, found the foremost hockey authority that I could find. From Toronto, you know him from hockey54.com, one of the most dynamic websites you will ever find anywhere, with some great interviews on there. And also you can get his pearls and nuggets of wisdom following him on Twitter at theschwartz54. Without further ado, my homeboy from Eastern Canada, somewhere in Toronto, at an undisclosed location, Lonnie Schwartz. Lonnie, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. As I've said on many an episode now, it's Stanley Cup myths, and you know what? It's always the most wonderful time of the year when Lord Stanley is out parading around and showing off his silver, you know?
Exactly. And to me, it has really kind of, they talk about, Christmas being the most wonderful time of the year, or, in some cases, Hanukkah, I understand. But I got to say, this is really, truly the most wonderful time of the year, and it brings everybody together no matter what your background is.
No matter what your background is, no matter who your favorite team is, typically, you're willing to give up on the formalities of rooting for, let's say, the Montreal Canadiens, and
yes,
and because I don't necessarily visit the golf course very often to watch them play, but it's always great to watch some good quality hockey, and we're right in the midst of that. I mean, we've watched 2 overtime games now, and both of them aren't like, it was 5-5 going into the third period. This has been some tight hockey, despite the fact that the New Jersey Devils can't figure out what those sticks are for other than passing the puck and maybe the occasional hacker splash. They shoot the puck.
Exactly.
Shoot the puck.
Exactly.
I shared with you.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I shared with you the adage from the great Walter Gretzky, the father of hockey, daddy of Wayne, a guy that I'm pretty sure most people in your neck of the woods are very familiar with, and that it's not just shoot the puck, not put the puck on the net, shoot the puck in the net.
Right.
Is his old adage, and it kind of worked well for that Wayne kid, wouldn't you say?
I think so. He was relatively successful. I'd say just, on the better side of moderately successful. He was able to actually keep himself in the league for a number of years by following those simple principles, yes.
I'm sorry, just, you took the word understatement and rewrote the definition the minute you said that.
All right, but, yeah, everybody loves Gretz out here still because of, the time he spent in L.A., and really, him coming out to L.A. was really his, the coming out of Gretzky for those who were non-hockey people. And, I still say, as Marty said in the interview that I have on YouTube right now, he's responsible, that Gretzky era, responsible for the franchises being in Anaheim and being in San Jose and being in Florida, things like that. But, yeah, the Gretzky effect was there, and Tampa Bay as well.
Absolutely, and I think America's better off for it, having the best player, arguably, of all time. I'm a little bit more in camp but the fact remains is, as a forward, Wayne Gretzky is the greatest forward to ever play the game, and as much as it pained the people in Edmonton to give him up, he did a lot more for the game itself. So, yeah, he was crying, and some people might say it was a little insincere, but you know what? I don't think so. He loved playing at Edmonton, but realizing what he could do for the game in the U.S. was a great gift from the great one. So,
and also, it helps that Peter Pocklington had lost his rear end in the housing market, so it was just kind of everything sort of coming together at the same time. But, that's...
You just pay me cash. Make sure it's in American right now, because our dollar's kind of in the grabber.
Exactly. So, the other thing is, before we get into just the, the New Jersey and L.A. thing, but you mentioned Bobby Orr, and of course we lost another fantastic defenseman. And Bobby Orr was, he was one of those players who's kind of in a class by himself, just a special player. But, really my favorite defenseman of all time has got to be Nick Lidstrom. And he just announced his retirement, a couple of days ago here. So, everybody's going to miss Nick. I got the chance to talk to him. Anyone who ever talked to him, just such a great ambassador for the game, the way that he carried himself and the way he represented his country, represented the Red Wings, and what he did on the ice. You couldn't ask for anything more from a hockey player than we got from Nick Lidstrom.
He is the definitive defenseman of this generation without question. I won't dispute that. I'll dispute the pundits that say he's the greatest of all time.
Right.
Well, hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second. That space is occupied by Robert Gordon Orr. It will never be touched. It will never be duplicated. Try not to make a name for yourself at the sake of dropping Bobby Orr.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Exactly.
But Nicholas Lidstrom did everything right, including retirement. I mean, the guy hit 40, played amazing hockey up until retirement. Even though he was injured, he comes back from the injury and still looked pretty silky smooth, still looked like Nick Lidstrom, although he said he lost a bit of a step and his body is just not at a point where it can take the off-season regimen to play at the top level. And you got to admire a guy for saying something like that. Like, his honesty and his approach, his class. I mean, you don't just throw around class, right? Matthew Barnaby, not the classiest guy. Nick Lidstrom, in one of those classes of guys who just exude that je ne sais quoi about a hockey player. And I mean, I've met him and interviewed him, and I was actually super surprised because last time I was in Vegas, here I am in the elevator, and I see him, and he's like, "Hey, you're the guy who used to wear the helmet, right?" And I went, You remember that? He goes, "Yeah, no, it was good. He asked good questions. He was very complimentary and everything." Him and Bobby Ryan actually remembered the helmet when they saw me outside of the media room and scrum. So it was really flattering that, of all people, the bona fide Hall of Famer, Nick Lidstrom, is saying, "Hey, I remember you." So that was kind of really cool. And here he does, here he does the right thing. He retires while he is still looked upon as one of the best in the game right now, not a star that's starting to fade a little due to age. So good on him. We lost a great one, but he did it the Nick Lidstrom way. And I tried to get this hashtag the trend, and I don't know. My influence is good, but it's clearly not as influential as his career. And I just said Miss Lids, because that's what we're going to do. And there's Ryan Suter now, primed for the picking. You don't think he's going to go to Detroit?
Well,
Captain Obvious is waving the flag with all the dollar signs saying, "Hey, Detroit, how's it going? Welcome to Michigan, Suter." Like they've got all the printed advertising and jerseys ready or something. It's going to be incredible because if he doesn't land there, I'll be surprised.
And you know what? There's going to be a lot of off-season intrigue because not only the Ryan Suter, but also we've got Rick Nash. And plus, we still, unfortunately, don't even really know if we're going to have hockey come this coming September, October. So that has to be sorted out. But let's go ahead and get to the task at hand here, which is the Stanley Cup Final, the 2012 Stanley Cup Final, New Jersey Devils, Los Angeles Kings. The Kings, as they have done in every round so far, taking the first two games on the road. They went to New Jersey. It was overtime, but still, they're up 2-0 now, coming back to Staples Center. In fact, they've won the first three games of every series so far this year. But, that remains to be seen with New Jersey. What do you see out there, man?
I see that New Jersey has forgotten what shooting the puck looks like. They did that a ton against everybody. They did it against Philly. They did it against New York. And here it's like, let's see how many times we can confuse the defense by passing the puck. Because it's, honestly, shooting the puck on net, getting some traffic is the ideal. And they're not doing any of that.
Right.
Quick is seeing all the pucks. They're busy farting around in front of the net, seeing how many pretty passes they can make. Shoot the puck, generate rebounds, put bodies in front. It doesn't need to be fancy. I was at a team practice yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I was coaching some kids, and the power skating coach there and the skill development coach was saying, less is more.
Right.
And that adage could not be more applicable to this series for New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at how LA is scoring goals, okay? You have opportunities where New Jersey decides, hey, we're going to make a bad line change. That's great. So what, Drew Doughty's going to do circles in his own end? No, Drew Doughty does a Bobby Orr, goes almost end-to-end, and just fires the puck on the net.
Wasn't that a beauty, though?
On the blocker side.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That
was a beautiful goal.
I mean, a great goal.
Yeah.
Fantastic goal. Like we're talking Bobby Orr, Paul Coffey.
Yes.
Like the real old school wheeling defenseman goal. And then you have Carter's goal.
Right.
The overtime winner. What did he do? Bad line change? Yes. Traffic in front? Yes. But did he look for the pretty pass? No. He wheels around the net, comes around to the slot, shot on goal, goal.
Right.
It doesn't need to be pretty. You don't need to be on the top 10 countdown or the highlight of the night. A goal is a goal is a goal. Ask Adam Henry. Okay? That goal on Lundqvist was far from pretty, but it still passed the line. They're still playing in the Stanley Cup.
That's true. You know what? Let's talk about, and when we did our breakdown last week, and one of the things I was mentioning was that the two rookies, Voinov on one side, but Adam Henrique on the other, was, could he keep up what he had done through the first 3 rounds? And I'd have to say that one of the things the Kings have done well is to keep that youngster in check, really. He really hasn't gotten free on the Kings like he was able to do against Florida and against Philly and against the Rangers. So they've done a pretty good job of keeping Adam Henrique in check.
They've been doing a great job of keeping almost everyone in check and keeping guys to the peripherals, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got Mitchell and Scuderi really doing their job as the grinders that they are. Nobody's paying those guys big bucks to score goals and be Drew Doughty. That's why their names are Scuderi and Willie Mitchell.
Yeah, and not Drew Doughty.
They've got their one offensive guy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you've got Doughty who can wheel and deal and gun it back when he's got to get back, but you have the grinders doing their jobs. They're taking care of guys like Parise, keeping them to the peripheral. They're holding Kovalchuk to be relatively ineffective right now. They've got Henrique, relatively ineffective. Clarkson, who isn't exactly what you would call a superstar, but is an offensive threat, hasn't been able to drive hard to the net or create opportunities in front.
Or hit an empty net when he has it.
Or that too. Yeah, we were talking about that in pre-production here, and honestly, in the first game, I thought Martinez got a stick on Thane. Mm-hmm. Right, Thane is driving to the net, puck squeezes out, gets passed out towards the front of the net, and boom, you think there's a goal. Thane misses the net. I thought Martinez got a stick on it. Not the case. Clarkson, wobbly, I was going to call it a pruck. Wobbly puck. Right on top of the crease, and it just floats right over the net. These are opportunities that should be going in, and they're not capitalizing on the easy stuff.
Well, let me ask you.
And that comes back to what we just talked about.
Let me ask you.
Does it need to be pretty to win? No.
Yeah, is it possible? Is it possible that, and this has happened, and you being a Montreal Canadiens fan, you know about this back when Dryden was early in his career, where he actually got into the heads of the Boston Bruins to the point where, they were just frustrated. Now, I know we're only 2 games in. Do you think maybe, though, that, Jonathan Quick is, you look at his record now, though, Quick, 1.44 goals against average, .947 save percentage. Do you think maybe is Jersey trying to cut it a little too fine?
I don't know if it's that Quick has gotten into their head, but yeah, are they trying to cut it a little too fine? Absolutely, because you're trying to make 8 passes before you score a goal, before you even put it on net. Like, now 8 passes, I'm exaggerating.
Yeah, of course.
But yesterday, Zhidlicki is coming down, and he had a perfect sight line.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect sight line. And what does he try and do? He tries to dish it to Parise going to net. Now, Parise got his stick on it, but he was covered.
Right.
Shoot the puck on the net. What's the worst case scenario? You create a rebound.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best case scenario? Oh, you score a goal. Passing a puck only accomplishes so much. If you have the opportunity to put it on net, you put it on net. Now, the reason someone like Dryden or even Roy or the great goalies that have stolen series by and large get into the head is because they're making these tremendous saves off of amazing quality scoring opportunities that are generated by what?
Exactly.
A great pass, not 5 passes. One great pass, one-timer, save. Beautiful shot on goal, save. Like, Marty was making save after save yesterday. 3 beautiful glove saves, but from what? A quality shot on goal met by a quality save from a quality goaltender. Quick, while he's had to make maybe 1 or 2 spectacular saves, albeit, at the right time, the fact is they're not taking too many shots that are challenging him on net. They're peripheral floaters. There's no hard shots on net. When was the real big, huge, spectacular save that you saw where I guess Doc Emmerich needs to go see a doctor because he's going to have a coronary if he announces a big save by Quick, or Jim Houston up here in Canada? Like, you'll hear a great save, Quick.
Right.
But maybe it's once or twice in a game. With Marty, you're hearing unbelievable saves. It's like there's a recording for Brodeur because the Kings are doing what it takes to win games.
Right.
It's not complicated hockey.
So with the Devils too. Now you remember they've got a guy, on the sideline who's got a pretty good pedigree. That is Peter Sikora. Do you think maybe we'll see Peter Sikora inserted into the lineup for Game 3 to try to add some jump? I know he's a little long in the tooth, but he is a veteran. He knows how to score. Maybe a little Sikora in Game 3 in L.A.?
You'd like to think so, because that's a guy who's got one point and purpose, putting the puck in the net and putting it on the net. And why is his name escaping me right now? Because they took Sikora out of the lineup for a Swede. And I'm not trying to say it's because he's... Yeah, Josephson.
Yeah.
They took him out of the lineup for him because they thought Josephson might be a little bit more adaptable to, say, Lundqvist, play off of the psyche and understand kind of thing. I didn't get the whole correlation, but that was what they were trying to point out on air. But Sikora, on the other hand, you have a guy who's going to put pucks on net. He's another offensive weapon that is going to put pucks on the net that you have to be mindful of on the second line.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see him in Game 3, but these first 2 games though, Kopitar on that breakaway when he goes and gets Brodeur down and out, pulls it over to the forehand, and I gotta say the question of if you listen to the post game reports and you see the whole players addressing the media, I think the question of the playoffs this year was a reporter asking Kopitar after that goal, so why did you decide to go backhand on Marty? Kopitar said, I went forehand, and for all of you who don't think Jonathan Quick ever laughs, you should have seen him after that. But there's Kopitar saying, I went forehand.
Quick.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it now. I was on another call in the other day on What's Brewing with George Brew, and he's a New Jersey guy. And I went over this at work. I was at McGuire Goaltending, and we were talking about the Kopitar goal. My boss was convinced that if Marty played a more modern style of goaltending, he may not have gotten beat. Because if you go down in the butterfly, when you see guys moving back and forth in the butterfly, just to be clear, that's called, there are variations of what it's called. I call it a power slide.
Right.
So you're in your butterfly, you lift up the leg, you push across, your pads are both down, you're in your butterfly. Marty got double beat right at the top of his circle. So as far as I was concerned, his pants were already in the dressing room by the time Kopitar decided he wanted to go back to forehand. So Marty was caught guessing. He comes across, he lifts his leg up, and then Kopitar just slides it in low.
Right.
That's tough. And the whole play broke down there. People were talking about the dangle. The whole play breaks down because Zhidlicki decides, hey, not only am I going to check the guy against the boards, I'm going to hold him down on the ice while the puck goes to, of all people, Anze Kopitar. Like, dude, let go of your guy. Stop watching while you're pressing his body down to the ice. It's not massage therapy. It's defense. Get your feet moving and get in the play.
Well,
those are killers.
One thing I would say,
killer
though,
plays right there.
One thing I would say, though, is this, is that I watched that play unfold, and one of the things I looked for, and that was, okay, Zhidlicki was out there at, near center ice at the boards, but beside him, out towards the middle of the ice was Dainius Zubrus. Zubrus should have realized that there's no one behind them. So he's playing the role of that second defenseman. To me, Zubrus has to be watching that play unfold and be drifting out to center, even though he was ready to go for a change. But at that point, he should have been drifting out towards center ice to watch and make sure someone is not breaking like Kopitar was. Then Kopitar breaks by, and you have Zubrus frantically trying to catch him as he goes by. But he's, to me, one of the problems, and what didn't get looked at, was that, to me, Zubrus had prematurely just kind of mentally checked out of that play.
And you picked up on a great thing, because I didn't mention that. I was more focused on Zhidlicki deciding to, like I said, enroll in massage therapy classes during the middle of overtime.
Right.
And I'm giving him a hard time because rightfully so. He's a defenseman. Take
Sure.
care of your man, get up and follow the play. But when you point out what you just pointed out, you see how the play broke out. You have Kopitar driving center ice, and you have two guys going up the wing. Well, where was the guy clogging up the middle? Where was the guy taking out his man? And as you just pointed out, that should have been Zubrus' responsibility, but he didn't. And as a goalie, and this is something that I don't know if everybody out there is aware of, when you're in net and you see a play like this develop, there's an alarm that goes off in your head. And no matter how focused you are, how good you are, whatever your strength is, when that alarm goes off in your head, and I watched that play develop, I was thinking, that's a goal. Marty's got to come up with a miracle on that, because that's a goal. Goalies have that sort of sixth sense. It's not that they see dead people, they see goals. And it's one of those situations where you look and you go and see how this play is starting to develop, and you go, I need a miracle right now.
Right.
Like, it's because it's not like you're beating yourself mentally. It's that you're recognizing how the play has unfolded and that your team's not going to be able to help you much.
Mm-hmm.
You know who has the puck. You see the scenario develop in front of you, and the only person you can rely upon is yourself. You know you're capable of stopping it. You know you want to stop it, but there's just that intangible, that uncanny feeling that you see this goal is going to happen. And I saw that right away watching them. Like, this is bad news right now.
And that's one of the things I was talking with some of my colleagues after that happened, just kind of little Twitter, social media stuff back and forth. And, they're talking about where was the other defenseman. Well, what it comes down to is this. It doesn't matter. Everyone has a distinct job to do on the ice. And things happen. Defensemen occasionally get caught up ice. There are neutral zone turnovers by forwards. I know that's hard to believe, but that happens too. Now, to me, though, you have to look at, there's the unforeseen that happens, but still, if you just stay in the game, keep your head in the game at all times, you cover for each other when those things happen. So occasionally, yes, a defenseman is going to get up ice, and also the job of the center is to function as the third defenseman. That's one of their primary responsibilities, to be that third defenseman, as opposed to, I know wingers cover for the defenseman on their. Wingers normally cover for defensemen on the same side. But when it comes down to it,
you're coming down low towards the slot.
Exactly.
Drop down low, and it wasn't happening. Like, look, we're micro-managing this almost, right? We're almost pulling a McGuire because these are close games. It's been great goaltending, and what it ultimately has boiled down to is the Kings have been able to capitalize using very simple, straightforward rules of hockey and capitalizing on mistakes.
Right.
And ultimately, in all team sports, in all individual sports, that's where you win, is capitalizing on a mistake. In football, it's that missed coverage. In baseball, it's, not too many errors, I guess. I'll throw out baseball because whatever. It's a bunch of guys slapping each other on the ass and complaining about a hangnail. I'm sorry, I know. I'm just being a jerk about that. I'm just too focused on the
You're
hockey
Canadian,
right now.
man. You're Canadian.
And
it's
I'm
all
Canadian.
good.
We just got the Blue Jays. You stole our Expos. You stole our Expos. But the point is it's an exploitation of mistakes. Catching someone out of position, and LA has been doing that masterfully and using very simple and straightforward tactics to accomplish the goal, which is to win.
Well, I think I can go to another sport, obviously big here in the USA, but football, American football, NFL. But one thing Hall of Famer Lynn Swann said, and I always go back to this in these big, series or championship moments, and he said, and he was talking about the Steelers, having won the 4 Super Bowls in the 70s, beating the Cowboys twice, and in those games, he said, he says, every now and then, the game just gives you a moment. Can't anticipate it. You cannot prepare for it. It just happens. Things just open up. And it's what you do in those moments that make, separate good players from great players and separate very good teams from great teams. It's just the very, very fine things. And that's what McSorley said, too, that, Mark Messier had said, to win a Stanley Cup is almost, you could compare it to a miracle because so many things have to go right. Just this, no injuries, nobody makes this mistake, that mistake, but so many things just have to fall into place for you.
That's right. That's right, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, the goals that are happening are based on mistakes, and here we are, 2-0 for the Kings, and they played hard. The goals are quality goals, right? There was nothing dirty. You can't say there should have been a penalty on a previous play. No circumstance that you could say, other than a mistake, that the Kings have been up front and just right on the money for. And hey, good on them.
Yep.
This is great hockey. People are complaining that ratings are down. People were complaining it's low scoring, but fairly high tempo. You're seeing good goaltending on one side. I would say great goaltending, and not to disrespect Quick.
Right.
You're seeing great goaltending from Marty, and Quick is doing his job.
Yeah.
Like, he's staying focused. He's making the saves, but New Jersey, if they're going to even up the series, they have to, at this point, be more direct towards the net, right? Everybody's pretending to be Adam Oates out there. Well, Adam Oates is on the bench, okay? He can only teach you what to do, and I'm sure Oates is telling him, go to the net and put a puck on the net.
Yeah.
Quit pretending to be me. Hall's not out on the ice. Chris Simon's not out on the ice. Everybody else that I made a superstar isn't on the ice. You are. Put the puck on the net.
There you go. And as a matter of fact, speaking of those teams, as soon as we finish up here, I'm actually going to head out to El Segundo, to the practice facility, and talk with some of the boys out there. So that's going to be coming up in about an hour, and then I'll have that. We'll use those as we see fit as time goes on here. But yeah, as soon as we hang up, I'm going to go jump in the car and head on out to El Segundo, talk with the Kings, and then hang out and talk with the Devils too, and see what their thoughts are on the upcoming Game 3. But you got to think the Devils are going to be a little bit, even though they'll never admit it, but when you play that hard, and I know they missed opportunities, as did the Kings, but you're playing at home, you got your home crowd behind you, and except for a couple of the weak power plays they had. And all you've got to show for it is an 0-2 hole after taking 2 games to overtime. That's got to be a little demoralizing for them.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say. But you know what? You can come back to L.A. and know that they are at least beatable in L.A.
Right. That's true. That's true.
They're at least beatable in L.A. They're not perfect at home. But, look, all it takes, and I know it's almost cliche to say, all it takes at this point right now is for New Jersey to win that next game, to win on Monday night, and that momentum starts to shift back in their direction. and you see where things go for Game 4, right? It's cliche to say, one game at a time, one goal at a time. Like, I'll leave you with this one in terms of talking about this. When Sandy Koufax, again, I'm doing my best Dodgers stuff here because Sandy Koufax had the left arm of God, the greatest left-handed pitcher of all time. In his book, and he would say, I went into every game expecting to pitch a perfect game or a no-hitter. And if I let up one hit, then the game would turn into a one-hitter. If I let up two, it would be a two-hitter. You just take these things one thing at a time. I think a lot of people get caught up in all the language and everything of trying to be sophisticated about something. It's all it is the one goal at a time. If it's 1-1, the game is tied. You're basically back at 0.
Right.
You just forge on from there. So that's how it really boils down to. Unless you're in overtime, then it's 2-1, game's over, like we've had the last 2 games.
Yeah. You don't have to split hairs. I got exactly what you meant.
See, well, I know you do. I'm just looking out for some of our listeners and viewers out there who are going, what's the point he's trying to make? Sometimes I got to spell it out for myself here. I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. I'm a little ahead of my own brain.
Ahead of your own brain. Okay, that's way too easy. I'm going to avoid the low-hanging fruit and not even touch that one. So, Lonnie, it's about time to go ahead and say goodbye here. So, were those your final words, or do you have some final words here?
I do have one set of final words here.
Okay.
I met a great cause over the weekend when I was talking with George Brew on his show What's Brewing, and it's called Mini Sticks for Miko. ministicksformiko.wordpress.com. So mini, M-I-N-I, sticks. I think everybody else.
Traditional spelling, yeah.
Sticks, for, F-O-R, Miko, M-I-K-K-O, .wordpress.com. Miko is a young kid, John Miko Geegan, and he's totally obsessed with hockey, and he grew up in Hastings, Minnesota, which is where he kind of got the nickname because of Mikko Koivu, and he has been diagnosed with a condition, cancer called neuroblastoma. It's a relatively rare disease and form of cancer that affects children. And to bring attention to the cause, they're collecting mini sticks for him. Now, I've got one in my hand from when I was growing up and playing hockey, and it's from a tournament that's very famous in the Toronto area called the Tony Roman Memorial Hockey Tournament. And I've got that from 1998. I've signed it. I'm going to send it. You go to ministicksformiko.wordpress.com. You can read about the kid and see how you can send a mini stick to him, because it's a wonderful cause for a kid who's battling a tough go right now. And if you got a mini stick lying around, if you're listening, if you're watching, and you got something that you could send his way, by all means, they're taking as many as they can. Mini sticks for Miko. Find a way to get one to him, because hey, any kid who's into hockey like this is already in the good books. The unfortunate part is he's got a tough battle against cancer that he's got to face right now. So let's do what we can for Miko.
And I'll try to get that up on officialinsidesports.com, and let's maybe get something going. Let's blast this out on Twitter as well.
That's right, Kings fans. You can find their Twitter handle on that site too. So I know a lot of people out there with mini sticks lying around. If you got one that's signed, I got one from Ed Belfour coming my way tonight from a friend who's going to get down to Minnesota for him. So, it's a great cause. Let's get some mini sticks down to Mini for Miko.
All right, fantastic. And right now, let's go ahead and wrap things up. So here we are, Stanley Cup Final 2012. New Jersey Devils down 2-0 against the Los Angeles Kings. 2 games coming up on Monday and Wednesday in Los Angeles. So everybody, thank you for watching. This is Talkin Hockey. Of course, Inside Sports, we're changing the world one sport at a time. You can follow us on Twitter at The Inside Sports. So for Mr. Lonnie Schwartz, this is Charles E. Smith Jr., and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.